very warm welcome to tonight's special screening of the film Peace is Inevitable. My name is Barbara Andre, and I'm a volunteer with Peace Partners. Peace Partners are a UK-based charity, and they are the host for tonight's event. Now, why have we put on this event tonight? I'm sure that everybody here, somewhere or another, is confronted with the problem we have, the knife crime epidemic. And so it is really heart-wrenching to hear so often of a senseless killing and that young lives are lost. So that's, yeah, and I also, it seems like a disease. It seems to spread. It doesn't seem to get less. It seems to get more, that we have more problem with this. And I don't know if you heard, it doesn't know any boundaries. It's not only here in the UK. As you probably have heard, yesterday there was something happening in Japan. And so my sense is as well that our society is rather helpless. They don't really know what to do about it. And so we have put this on this event exactly because of that. Because about 1 year ago, there was already a showing of this film we will watch tonight, with a much smaller audience. And I just want to quickly say a little bit about this movie. It is about a gang of young people in Ecuador in South America. And they went about their business with their gang lives. They fought each other with the rival gangs. But what happened is that they spiraled more and more into violence. And eventually, they fired even guns and killed each other. And you will see in the movie how these people are really touched, just losing friends. So at that point, when they really were getting into this cycle of more and more violence, they were offered to take part in a program which is called the Peace Education Program, in short PEP. At first, they were very reluctant because I thought, well, it's another religious thing or whatever. But over the time, they could see that there were benefits and that really something happened to them. And their whole lives got turned around. And I want to tell you, the title, Peace is Inevitable, wasn't a clever person who came up with this. It was them who came up with this title, because that is how they felt. So when I watched this movie a year ago, it really struck me. I thought, goodness, there is a solution, but hardly anybody knows about this. So we have to do something about this, that more people will hear about it, that there are solutions out there. So I really hope that tonight, that this is a starting point, that more of these events will happen.
So my name is Kheron and I'm a motivational speaker. I go all over England doing motivational talks. What inspired me to do this is because I myself got kicked out of school back in year 9. And when I see these young people, they just remind me of myself. When I went through this tremendous transformation, I literally look at my past self as an innocent child that didn't know better. And now that's the same way I look at the young people that I come in contact with. I work with young people in PRUs, which is pupil referral units, those who have been kicked out of school and kind of given, people have just lost faith with them. I also work with young people in young offenders. Of recent, I went to Swellside Prison, which was an experience I will never forget, with long-term to lifers, people who are facing 20 years, 26 years. The majority of them was my age, and it was so insightful. I'm actually still processing that experience. I also work with community, doing community development and being the lead facilitator on the Roundtable projects that you mentioned, which is working with young people and police to reduce this tension that we don't seem to know where it came from, and just exploring that, facilitating that dialogue. So the piece is inevitable. Film is a fantastic film. When I watched it, I was just basically moved. And the reason I was moved is because there was this strong belief in the young people that no matter how far they've gone, there is good within them. There is peace within them. This is what I experienced being at the prison. These people are inside for a mistake that they made due to lack of guidance, due to an environment that wasn't really nurturing and guiding them in the right way. And they made one mistake and now they have to pay for that with 20 years of their life. However, that peace, that inner good that's within all of us, that urge to help somebody is also within them. And I saw it with these young people at the start. I don't want to give away too much, but at the start I was thinking, there's no hope here. Oh my God. But then when you saw the transition, you're reminded that at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and deep within all of us, there is that urge to just love, to just love one another. And unfortunately, some people just struggle to find that place or choose not to go there. However, when we're dealing with young people that come from deprived backgrounds with limited opportunities, then it's more than just them deciding not to be good. There's a lot of other factors that cause them to make the decisions that they make. So quickly about me. Year 9, a tragic incident took place in my family. I was at home and it was just a normal day at home, watching TV, flicking through the channels, seeing what's going on. Suddenly I heard my mum's phone ringing. I thought nothing of it. This happens all the time. When she picks up the phone, within a matter of seconds, I heard her screaming, on the top of her voice, screaming. I rushed out of the living room towards her bedroom, only to see her crying and just in a very distraught, I'm not sure if that's the word, distraught. Thank you very much. I'm dyslexic, but bear with me. We'll figure it out. So she was in that state, and she couldn't tell me what's happening at the time. So I'm just looking at her, trying to make sense of what's being said on the other side of the phone. Within a matter of minutes, I realized that there was a horrific incident that happened in Jamaica between her two brothers, which are my two uncles. Just to mention the uncles quickly, there's two of them. One is my favorite, right? One is my favorite. I love them both, right? The older one, Uncle Dervin, great person, love him. When I go to Jamaica, he takes me on these long walks where I meet different family members, old people, young people, the whole shebang. He takes me on that trip. The younger one, my favorite, he's just amazing. Reason being, he reminds me of myself. Very handsome. And and he is tremendously ambitious. This is what I admired about him from a very young age. He already bought land. He started building his house. He was doing things that other members of the family in that impoverished environment wasn't doing, and I was inspired by him. He would also give me his moped to ride from a young age, and that was just phenomenal, dangerous but great. So now I'm learning that there's been an argument between these two brothers of my mum, and what had happened is that the younger of the two, my favorite Uncle Lester, was coming at his older brother in a very aggressive manner with a big plank of wood. And what my older uncle, who was much smaller than the other uncle, he pulled out a knife. He pulled out a knife in an attempt to scare him off, an attempt to say, get away from me. And in that little commotion, one fatal blow to my uncle's heart cost him his life. Now, at that time, everybody knows my mum. My mum is the oldest of her siblings. She's like the mother of the family. She is also the most fragile of them all. Very, very gentle and soft soul. When I was in school and being naughty, mummy never shouted. She got at me. She made my own conscience bother me. Just seeing her weeping eyes would make me reflect and want to do better and want to be better. Now, whilst this was happening, it was made clear that Uncle Lester had died, but they didn't tell my mum that just yet. The following day, when it was now clear what had happened, no one couldn't find the other uncle. Now, this is where my mum taught me one of the greatest lessons of love. Because at this point, many of the family wanted to turn their back on my uncle that had the knife in his hand that night. But my mum said to me, right, that we've already lost one. We've already lost one. And although we love him dearly, he no longer has any feelings. So if we turn our back on the other one, he would have to experience those emotions. He already has a lot to deal with himself. And my mum had the greatest forgiveness. She was so concerned and so worried because no one couldn't find him at the time. And she was in fear that he might take his own life. He was then arrested. He handed himself in, went into prison, and my mum tried her absolute best to just be there for him in every way, shape or form, and other members of the family did as well. Whilst there was a large majority, he just didn't want to know him at all. With all the witnesses in the police investigation, they saw that it was an attempt of self-defense and it was an accident. He didn't mean to actually stab him or much less kill him. So he was later freed from prison, which brought a great relief to many of my family members, because prison in Jamaica is next to hell. So from that, when this incident took place and while it was happening, I was in year 9. And I was already finding it challenging to focus in school because of my dyslexia. I don't know who made the word. I can't even spell it. I'm trying to tell somebody I'm dyslexic. I'm like, how do you spell this damn word? It's terrible. But I was already struggling in school. And when this incident took place, that's when things really, really went downhill for me. Because my mom was like my backbone. And every day I would wake up, I would no longer see this fruitful mom singing in the kitchen, cooking my favorite meal. She always had her head down. She was just not the same anymore. And whilst I was at school and I would get into any little conflict or anything, the teachers found out how to really get under my skin. But at this point, my mom was so fragile that I knew that every phone call home was just an assault to my mom and her state. So I would actually throw tables and chairs and just get upset because I know they're phoning home only to annoy me. Shortly after that, I got kicked out of school, and this is where I got exposed to a lot of youth violence and gang culture. Because of time, I can't go too deep into it because our timekeeper's going to start waving at me soon. But at this phase, I was exposed to a lot of horrific things on the streets of London. At the point, I didn't think I wanted to change my life. However, when I started losing people that I grew up with and close associates, I started to realize the reality of street life in London, the inner city, London. I was at one of my friend's funeral, and when he was going into the grave, I just couldn't comprehend that there's no seeing him again. There's friends up until today, when I walk past their house, I still think they're inside doing something. There's friends that I know, they no longer walk this earth, but a part of me just feels like they're on holiday somewhere and I just haven't seen them in a long time. But the actual reality is they're no longer here. The last incident that made me change was when 2 of my very close friends who I was spending a lot of time with at the time invited me to a party. That night I just wasn't up for going out, so they both went out together. Only one of them returned that evening. And I decided from this point on, I really want to change my life. I don't want to be around this anymore. I don't want to feel like I need to revenge of one of my friends' death or I need to do something to defend anybody or find myself in a situation based upon the area that I'm from. I didn't want to be a part of any of it anymore. So I started watching motivational talks online. I started watching inspirational lectures I started watching messages that are about you and empowering you and the power of the mind and the power of belief, etc., etc. I started literally transforming my way of thinking, transforming my mental attitude. My mum gave me a book. As you know, I'm not a big reader. I've only read about 2 books in my whole life, but I've listened to a lot of books. And one of the books was Attitude is Everything. I went through this great transformation, started volunteering at my local youth club. A lot of the young people look up to me. And when they saw me take this path, I already started to have a positive impact on others. A lot of us denied the idea of being a role model. We didn't attach that to us. That wasn't a part of our personal brand. Role model, no, that's not us. But I learned that we are all role models, because whatever it is you are doing, you are modeling a role. Someone else is seeing what you're doing, and they could either decide to be like that or not to be like that. So if you're being a gangster, you are a role model. A young person's looking at you thinking, I want to do what he's doing. Having gone through this great transformation, it felt like my duty. It felt like my duty to share messages that changed my life to my peers. So I went out there excited, like I just found gold. Hey, listen, guess what? If you have a positive mental attitude, you can change your life. I wasn't really good at articulating myself. I had a very limited vocabulary, which a lot of young people have today. So when it comes to expressing themselves, it's tremendously challenging. So they do it through anger. You will see bold gestures. When I used to do that in secondary school, they called it aggressive behavior. I still see it when I go into school. Just a passionate young person speaking like this, aggressive behavior gets sent out because they have a limited vocabulary. So I said that from this point, then I want to be an effective communicator. I want to learn to communicate my ideas, to convey these messages to my peers and to anybody that I want to speak to. So I went on this quest to just be an articulate speaker. It's a journey that I'm still on today. Went through this great transformation. I've always got told I had potential. 2.5 years, I picked up a hobby that I had as a child that helped to get me off the streets. It was boxing. 2.5 years ago, I went back 3 years ago, and 2.5 years ago, I had my first bout. Right? 2.5 years later, not only am I number 1 in London, I'm number 1 in the country. And I literally bought this hair today and made sure I had a shape up and looked beautiful for you all. Because I just want to say that every young person lost is me. Every young person has that potential. And it's people like you, organizations like Peace Partners, and many other organizations that focuses on bringing out the greatness that's within young people in the community. Interventions in their culture to just change their direction can literally save a life. I wouldn't be here before you today, this accomplished, although there's a long way to go, without people intervening in my life. Love is the answer. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So if we think that we can make a change, if we think that peace is inevitable, then we are absolutely right. Thank you.
And what did you think of the film?
I think the film's brilliant. The film's brilliant. It's just it's content that basically shows so many examples of believing in someone, offering them the right support, giving them the right message, and seeing them turn their life around. It literally embodies the concept of change is possible and peace is inevitable. With the right support, with the right mindset, everything is possible. So that's a film that encapsulates all of that, which is quite remarkable.
And is there a website or social media page?
Absolutely, you can find me on Instagram at KKHERON, that's at KKHERON, where I have a motivational page and I post some images of this fine specimen, so you can find me there.
Okay, so thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure and joy. Thank you very much, Peace Partners. You've been great. I really enjoyed my day here today, and I look forward to more events like this to continue this conversation.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kheron.